Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Saturday Morning Comic Review. I'm your host, Dylan Wallace. Today, we got a great episode for you guys. It is going to be an Omega run, which is basically me catching up through my backlogs, anything that I missed from the previous week, or going deeper into the backlogs. Today is just going to be previous week stuff. So last week was 13 pulls in total. Got through 3 books on the Saturday show, so we're going to finish the remaining 10 for this week, so we can just go ahead and jump right into it. So, 10 books, like I mentioned. I'll go ahead and read off all these books so you have an idea of what order I'm going to review them in. So we have Absolute Wonder Woman, issue number 16, Absolute Flash, issue number 11, Absolute Martian Manhunter, issue number 8, and then Absolute Batman, issue number 16. So, a bunch of absolutes for this episode. Then we have Final Boss, issue number 3. Then we have Skinbreaker, issue number 5. Youngblood, issue number 3. And then Bug Wars, the Spyder Wytch special, is basically a one-shot, but there are like 3 small stories within this one-shot. Then G.I. Joe, issue number 18. And then last but not least, it's going to be the conclusion to Miles Morales Spider-Man, issue number 42. So those will be the books that we review for today. If you're on audio, there is a video format as well. If you're interested, I'm going to show off some of the artwork as we go through the review. But if this is the first time hopping on, appreciate you joining. The way that we go through this is I'll give you my score on League. I'll give you the League score as well. We'll review the book itself, and I'll try to catch you up on, key story bits that you need jumping into this. Just be mindful that I do spoil the heck out of the book, so if you don't want any spoilers, it's just not going to be the show for you. But lastly, I'll show off some of the artwork and whether or not this is a good issue to jump into. And so we'll go through that similar formula for each and every one of these 10 books. So we'll start off with Absolute Wonder Woman, issue number 16. I gave it a 4.5. League gave it a 4.5 as well.
Nailed it. I know. Thank you. Moving on.
And so for this book here, it is the start of a brand new arc. So now is a perfect time to go ahead and jump in. If you see it at your local comic book store, it's a great time to jump into this one. I believe it's 1 out of 5 parts. So we have Wonder Woman, and she's continuing to get these visions of Aphrodite. And she doesn't quite know why, but she knows something is off. And we get some backstory as she grew up in what was basically hell. She was visited by a number of different goddesses and trained up to basically be the weapon that she is now. And early on, when she was a young girl, Aphrodite used to visit her pretty frequently, and then she just stopped. And she kept asking Artemis in particular, why does she stop, and doesn't get like a clear-cut explanation, but continues to have these visions of when Aphrodite used to visit. All the meanwhile, in present day, there is a museum exhibit that is about to go live, and it is honoring Wonder Woman, and so she goes and attends it, and it's like, a gala-style thing with the red carpet and the ribbon-cutting ceremony and all that stuff, and sure enough, very quickly, things start to go sour. She faints when she's having, one of these visions, and thinks back to a time with Aphrodite, and then on top of that, the Suicide Squad attacks, and it's specifically Zatanna is in charge of the Suicide Squad in the Absolute Universe. Reminder, Absolute Universe, of course, is everything is like a little odd, and people have different backstories and different heroes, different powers, so on and so forth. So Zatanna is the leader of the Suicide Squad, and that's basically the cliffhanger with her attacking, and then the Suicide Squad just creating a bunch of havoc. So really good issue. It's a bit of a mystery, trying to figure out what's all going on, and I'm enjoying it. Perfect time to go ahead and jump in, show off some of the artwork. Still the continuation of a lot of the really cool art pieces of Absolute Wonder Woman, where you have each of the panels are like different shapes, good overlapping kind of dimensionality to it, and then the panels themselves are like, it's like truly different shapes of like octagons and rectangles, and like look at this one right here, this splash, right? It's just a bunch of different it's like cascading outward into larger and larger Well, in this instance, actually smaller, different squares and rectangles. It just looks so cool. So it's an excellent way to tell the story. And the key to this is it's not confusing to read as well. Sometimes that would affect the readability, but it really doesn't here. And so here you have at the very end, Wonder Woman and Zatanna going face to face, toe to toe. So we'll see how that all unfolds. So that's Absolute Wonder Woman issue number 16. Again, I gave it a 4.5. Lee gave it a 4.5 as well. Then next up here is going to be Absolute Flash issue number 11. So for this one, I gave it a 3.5. Lee gave it a 3.9. It's probably the lowest Absolute I've given thus far, just because it feels more like a filler issue, if anything. Don't necessarily know if it's a good time to jump in, as I believe issue number 12 is going to kind of be like the big climax, so maybe just wait until after that. But that being said, I was actually thinking about potentially dropping this one. So it's beginning of February. It's February 3rd when we're recording this. And you have the previews that come out, and I went and took a look at everything and started building out the list. And then I'm looking at the pull list over the next couple of weeks to next month or so, and it's starting to creep back up there. And I'm trying to think like, okay, what can I potentially pare down to make sure things kind of stay within budget? And so this one I was thinking of maybe dropping. There's also Absolute Green Lantern I was thinking of dropping, Justice League Unlimited, just some things that consistently have been okay to like, but I'm not over the moon about them, so there's that. I think Final Boss and this, when we get to that review, is another one that's potentially on the chopping block. So kind of keep that in mind. Maybe I've had my fill, and it's on to the next thing, so TBD there. But the story itself here, we have Wally, who's the Flash. He's infiltrated the base where he was basically created, and he ends up in Stillware, I think is what it's called. So kind of like an in-between land where like time doesn't exist. And when he gets sucked in there, he sees Barry. Barry is the scientist who he used to be friends with, who was killed in this explosion. And, Wally's trying to understand what all is happening here. And Barry does his best to try to explain, like, this is some sort of place where time doesn't exist, but we're still able to do, like, research. But we can't leave here because we died. So we kind of only exist as, like, our souls, basically. So it's him and a couple of other people that are stuck there. But they're, like, collaborating, working together, and trying to figure out this whole thing. So a lot of the issue is that, and just explaining everything that's happening there, but it doesn't do like the best job of explaining it, and it takes a significant amount of the issue of trying to explain it. So that's taking place. And then out in the real world, we have Dr. Thawne's father or grandfather who started this experiment years ago, and he was also affected by a similar type of explosion, but similar to Wally, the Flash. He didn't actually die, he gained these powers, and the powers that turned him into like this magma energy monster. So he's out attacking and destroying the lab while everyone else is trying to defend against him. And so at the very end of the issue, you have Wally, who finally steps out of Stillware and then is now trying to fight and go toe-to-toe with Dr. Thawne's father or grandfather. So that's basically the cliffhanger that we have here. I just want to make sure I actually got that right. Is it called Nowhere? Oh, Still Point. So that's what the realm is basically that they're in. So yeah, it's a so-so issue. It moves pretty slowly. Yeah, that's why I kind of gave it a 3.5, and I think that's why League was down on it as well. The art is fine. I'll go ahead and flip through that. Still has a good way of showing what the Stillware looks like. The monster design here for the magma monster looks pretty cool, so I'll give it credit there. But the story just didn't advance too much, right? It's just kind of a stalemate on the outside, and then us trying to get this explanation of what all is happening in this realm. And we didn't get too much. So it's just didn't knock my socks off. Don't think it's going to be a good time to jump in, and you can see, part of the reason why I'm so do I even continue with this book. So we'll have to see how the budget keeps looking, so on and so forth, but I'll keep you guys posted on whether or not I'm going to drop it. But that's Absolute Flash issue number 11. I gave it a 3.5. Lee gave it a 3.9. Then next we have Absolute Martian Manhunter issue number 8, and this book's pretty good. I gave it a 4.5. Lee gave it a 4.6. Awesome artwork, as it always has been. Very Picasso, right? And the colors are super vibrant. and super high saturation, so it always makes this comic super fun, and it continues in the same theme in issue number 8 as well. So where we are at now is after the events that took place in like the first 6 issues. Now John is trying to understand who the Martian is and why he's stuck in his head. And so John's back on the force, but he's separated from his wife and his kid, and he just needs to escape from the Martian as best as he can. So he's given an assignment. He kind of blows it off, ends up heading to a bar and tries to get shit-faced drunk. But it's not working. The Martian's still there, still super active in his mind. And so he just has an argument with it of like, you need to give me a break. Like, I don't know what all is happening here, and it's been nonstop since you've entered my life. Like, you go off and do your thing and give me a night so I can try to make amends with my family. And so at first the Martian is very hesitant to do so, but then finally agrees. And so John heads back to his family, and things don't really get any better or necessarily any worse, but he's there. And maybe his wife can tell a little bit that he's trying, but he still seems cold and disconnected. But meanwhile, for the Martian, he's like out in the town and still like absorbing a whole bunch of just knowledge of what people are thinking. And some things are fine, some things are screwed up. But then he's attacked. And he's attacked from some sort of agency, and it looks like he's either hurt or potentially even killed. And so he's calling out to John. John can't hear him, or is purposely ignoring him for whatever reason. And so the Martian, or an alien that returns back to John's mind, ends up being Despair. And Despair puts his arms around John. It's like, don't worry, I'll be at your side moving forward. So things are getting darker for sure. We'll see how it goes and what all is happening with the Martian. Flipping through the artwork, it is such an incredible art piece from that alone, and then the story is picking up as well. So yeah, it's a great issue. I'd say 7 would be better than 8, but you'd be fine if you jumped into 8. No issues if you jumped in here. So if you see this on the shelf and you're interested, go ahead and pick this bad boy up. But here is where he is shot and injured, and he's down and out. And then here's where Despair comes back to John. So yeah, Absolute Martian Manhunter, issue number 8. I gave it a 4.5. Lee gave it a 4.6. Then we have Absolute Batman issue number 16. For this one, I gave it a 4. Lee gave it a 4.6. I was actually super surprised that Lee gave this one such a high score. It is truly a filler issue, so you can go ahead and skip this and just jump into, I think it's issue 17 is where we're going to pick up with Poison Ivy is what it says at the end. But here, Batman, Bruce, is trying to patch things up with his friends. So his friends were recently attacked, and one truly becomes Two-Face. The other one, I think, is Clayface, because he's like kind of molten-y. Tough to tell, but I think that's who it's supposed to be. So now Bruce is like feeling like guilty because he's dragged his friends into a lot of this, and the two in the hospital start to resent him. And so Bruce is like, okay, well, can I make it up to Waylon, who's Killer Croc, some way, somehow? And so he summons Wonder Woman. And when he summons her, he's like, do you know of a way or a magic that can somehow turn an animal back into a human? And Wonder Woman's like, I do know a place. You're going to have to come with me. And it's super dangerous. And so they trek for like weeks on end where like time basically doesn't exist. And they go and fight this centaur. Before they fight it, Wonder Woman gives Batman like a dispel basically of like, this centaur has magical spells. I need to make sure that if you get hit, you're not going to get hurt or affected from the spell. So they go to fight. The centaur has a bow and arrow, shoots it, and it actually does hit Batman. He gets struck in the side. And so they break off the arrow. And so Batman's injured, but the spell didn't work on him or didn't affect him. When he goes back into the real world, Batman then realizes like, oh, he actually needed the arrow the whole time. He gives the tip of the arrow to Waylon, who then takes it, and we assume that's going to transform him back. So injured, but, totally fine because Absolute Batman's a freaking beast. But now it looks like his buddy is going to get patched up. And that's the story. It's truly a filler issue and just a little side mission that takes place before we jump into the next one, which is going to be Poison Ivy centric. So really looking forward to that. Go ahead and show off the artwork. It's excellent as always. Like, see here, like all these bulges on his face. I think it's Clayface is who he's supposed to be. Obviously, this is Two-Face, like for sure. So here is where he summons Wonder Woman. They're like, hey, help me out. This is where they go on their big trek and their journey before they get to this Minotaur here. And then boom, look at that splash of both of them taking their first swings at the Minotaur. And then I think here you have Batman riding Wonder Woman's Pegasus as well, which is a dope scene too. But he does get hit with the arrow, but realizes this is actually the trinket that Killer Croc needs, and he takes it at the very end. So yeah, cool issue, but again, filler. So I think League is a little high on it for my personal taste, but yeah, it's a fine. If you read it, you'd be fine. You would have no idea what's going on. You really want to start at issue number 17. So that's Absolute Batman issue number 16. Again, I gave it a 4. League gave it a 4.6. And then we get into Final Boss here. So this was the other example of a book that I was like, maybe I'll go ahead and drop it. We'll just kind of see. So issue number 3 here, I gave it a 3.5. League gave it a 3.7. So, just about where I expected it to be. It's very clear now that this is straight up just a video game universe that we've set up here. It's literally called Final Boss, but they are leaning into it very heavily now. So we have a guy, he entered into a tournament. He's trying to find some more information to where he can find his father. His grandfather fought in World War II, discovered this island that had, I think through a necklace, has superpowers in it. That was given down to his grandson, who now has these like superpowers. So he was fighting in underground arenas. That's where he got discovered. And then now he's on this island that's going to have this huge tournament. So he's there with a friend, and he's given directions on, you can go to this armory and basically load up with a bunch of armor and guns and ammunition before you actually enter into the tournament. So he heads there, and then sure enough, they load up on a whole bunch of stuff. Very gory, very seedy part of town, so like it's just kind of gross and nasty and over the top in that sense. But they get there, and then when they leave, now they're trying to go to the hotel, they run into this, it's like enormous large man, but his head is that of a pig or a boar, and so starts trouble. And our main character and his friend, they end up fighting this boar, and our main character ends up killing him before making it finally to the hotel. So the tournament hasn't even started yet. He's just killing random people on this insane, crazy island where it seems like there are just no rules and no laws. And that's basically it. That's the story. So we're on our way, and it's considered one of the bosses. And then towards the end, like he literally levels up as though it's an RPG and reached a level in the video game. So yeah, here is the artwork. As you can see, like crazy level of detail. It's like muscles on top of muscles and just super gory and violent. So the big fight that takes place here, very bloody, very over the top, like rated M for mature for sure is what this game would be. Here's the kill splash towards the end before he clearly levels up as they head now to the hotel and then continue on this journey. And then at the end you have the tree of power basically, so the different villains that he's defeated thus far. So we got 2 down in these first 3 issues, and looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 more to go. So yeah, it's Final Boss again. I may continue, I may not. It's not much of a story as much as it is just the artwork and just seeing how the arc goes, and more of like the kill gags of like what insane way is our main character going to end up, killing whatever boss or victim that he faces either in the tournament or along the way. That's basically kind of the point of it. But it's cool from an art perspective if you like that. It's very Rob Liefeld art style, but the storytelling is slightly better, if that does any favors for you. Next up is going to be Skinbreaker, which I've been enjoying a lot. This one, I gave it a 4. League gave it a 4.3. Skinbreaker's super cool story here. We have these orcs living in some crazy sort of fantasy world, and life is like really challenging and difficult to find food and scavenge. Our chief, our main protagonist chief, was just exiled from the clan, and the way that they decide the next chief is supposed to be a fight to the death. But in this particular instance, our chief was like, hey, I can't give this up to the guy who wants it because he's just going to bring things back to the old way. But the enemy that they're fighting, which are these big, they're almost like kind of like bug-like creatures, but they're enormous. They're the size of like buildings, and they like kill them for food. They're getting smarter, right? They're adapting. And so our chief has been setting up traps rather than just using brute force to kill these creatures. And the traps have been working like tremendously and successfully. But the new chief who wants to go the old way is like, hey, this technology stuff is weak, right? That's not who we are. We don't do any of this stuff. So they had this fight, and our main chief ended up running away, and he's been exiled. So that ended in issue number 4. Issue number 5 here is our chief is still alive, and many, many months have now passed, as in many seasons. But he's still alive, he's still out there, and he's trying to help out the tribe as best as he can while just being hidden. And sure enough, the new chief, he's basically run the tribe to the ground. It's almost exactly like one-to-one comparison to when Scar from The Lion King takes over Pride Rock. It's the exact same thing that happens here. So now you have scarcity of food, and then the food gets prioritized towards the hunters, which he favors, rather than the rest of the tribe. So, people are like starving, and it's not working well, and he's not allowing any of the traps. They're not able to capture as much as they were before, and the tribe is now exposed, and it's super dangerous because these creatures can just come in and attack like they did previously. So now, sure enough, the chief is like trying to figure out what to do. And again, these creatures attack. And so the chief doesn't allow it, and he's basically goes in and helps and supports. But the new chief has a son, and the son gets attacked by the creature directly. The former chief, our main guy, he comes in and saves him, and then he runs away before he can get captured. And the new chief is like, oh, we got to stop him. He's still alive. What shame it brings to our tribe. He was supposed to be dead. And so he tells his son, you have to be the one to go after him because you're going to be the next in line. You got to show strength. And the son's conflicted. He's like, whoa, I was just saved by him. Why would we let that happen? And, just reiterates and explains it's the old ways, it's strength, all that BS. And so then the son is like, okay, I think I'll go through with it. And that's the cliffhanger of like, now we need to go after the former chief and actually kill him and put an end to this and put an end to the mockery of the tribe. So it's super in depth. I love the storytelling here because it's orcs. So it's not these long soliloquies of explaining all this. It's just the storytelling from the artwork. It's show, don't tell. And I'm loving it. You understand immediately what story we're trying to tell here. And I freaking love it. It's so good. So I don't recommend jumping in here. You should start off at the beginning. It's very impactful from the beginning as you're going through it. But what an incredible story. Definitely continue to read through this. And every time it's on the pull sheet, I'm like, hell yeah. So Skinbreaker issue number 5. Let's go ahead, show off some of the artwork so you can go and take a look. Here's what the seasons pass and the tribe, and like they're all weak and trying to figure out like, oh my gosh, how much longer are we going to survive? Here are these creatures you can see. Like they're almost like, like these huge maggots, but like they're the size of like grizzly bears, maybe even bigger. Like they're huge. So building was probably the wrong analogy, but like a truck, like a lifted pickup truck, like they're the size of that. So here we have when they attack the tribe. Here's where the son is saved. The new chief is trying to plead with the son, like, please, you have to go and kill him. And they're like arguing back and forth, and then finally come to the realization of like, or the decision that yes, we're going to go after the former chief. But hopefully someone realizes something and for the error of their ways, and then basically the tribe is all wiped out because they're not using the traps and the technology like they were before. So Skinbreaker issue number 5. Again, I gave it a 4. Lee gave it a 4.3. Next is going to be Youngblood issue number 3. Gave this a 3.5. Lee gave it a 3.6. I mentioned I already dropped this one, and I did, but for my local comic book shop, they basically then give you like one additional one unless you like catch it beforehand. And so this is the final one of reading through this. It's a Rob Liefeld joint. I'll say this one is better than the first 2 issues, but it's still not super great. What we have here is a bunch of characters. Nobody knows who they are. Nobody knows what they're trying to do, what they represent, so on and so forth. It's just a bunch of like strong people that seem like they could be the X-Men, seems like they could be the Justice League, they could be the Avengers. Put together, they're stopping Earth and trying to fight off this guy Xerxes, and all the while there's this even greater threat that's coming from a different planet coming and attacking Earth. So our group of quote-unquote heroes, they stop Xerxes, but Xerxes ends up getting away, and then this greater threat of these larger, almost Galactus looking like, but not quite as big, creatures show up on Earth, and they claim that they're about to take over. It's not a great storytelling, and the artwork is so-so. This is why I dropped it. So, You can tell, though, the local man inspiration for sure. As I was reading through this, I just felt like I had to read this book to get some comic book knowledge of, Rob Liefeld and his thumbprint on comics and how controversial that it is. And now I completely and fully understand, and that's all I needed. So more of just a history lesson for me rather than actually, enjoying the book. So yeah, we're done with it. Anything else, Rob Liefeld, I'm going to think twice. Let's just put it that way. So yeah, that is Youngblood issue number 3. Again, I gave it a 3.5. Lee gave it a 3.6. Then we have Bug Wars, the Spyder Wytch special. So this one is super cool. It is, I gave it a 4.5. Lee gave it a 4.5 as well.
Nailed it. I know. Thank you. Moving on.
So Bug Wars was awesome last year. Definitely one of the best independent books of the year. On top of that, I was like, I can't wait until the second volume comes out, and they already confirmed that it would. But in between that, they came out with this Spyder Wytch special. So it's 3 parts in one, and they're basically one-shots to give you more information about the Spyder Wytch, who is the supporting character in the first volume. So we get 3 basically vignettes here, and the first one is the longest, and it is the Spyder Wytch is summoned to help out with a threat or investigate the big tree in the yard. It's gone silent. None of the mites, none of the other bugs are there. She goes and she shows up there and goes into one of the holes that was like dug out from mites from years ago, and it's like glowing red. And she sees another spider that is potentially part of her tribe, but she doesn't know who she is. And she's like glowing red because she is infused with like I guess like fire spells. So almost think of like fire ants, but as a fire spider. And so they start fighting back and forth, and what the fire spider is saying to our main witch of, hey, you were exiled, I was exiled as well, and for the exact same reason you were exiled, our main Spyder Wytch was exiled because she had a relationship with one of the other spiders. The same exact thing happened for the fire spider as well. It was like someone outside of the bloodline who she was supposed to be married with and was also exiled. It's just like, we can rule together as fire, and then our witch is like ice-based magic as fire and ice, and like take down the entire witch coven, Spyder Wytch coven. And our main one was like, no, not going to be a part of it, and just continued to fight her, eventually kills her, and like super violent and bloody. And then also she has some like hatchlings up there too. And so she doesn't kill the hatchlings, but then the rest of the clan then catches up with her and sees like, okay, good, she took care of the threat. So our witch is like, oh, you actually just sent me up here knowing that this threat was up here, so you're almost like a suicide mission, and you sent me out to die. And they're like, yeah, we did, but you're exiled and we knew you would do it anyways. And then on top of that, they kill all the hatchlings too. So just like no mercy, whatever they say goes. This is the law, and this is how it is. So that's the first story. The second story is just as messed up. It's our exiled witch. She's going through the yard, and she runs into this young spider boy. So he's, I guess, going to be part of the army at some point, but he's breaking the rules by going far away from the spider coven in the first place. And so he runs into some wasps. The wasps look like they're going to try to kill him. She saves him, and when she saves him, they together end up walking through the lawn to head back to the spider base. When they get back there, the leaders all see what happened, and they all decide that they're going to have him executed. And then the witch tries to plead of like, he was young, he didn't know, like it's fine. And they're like, nope, these are the rules. He wasn't supposed to leave, and he would have been killed by the wasp anyways. He's too weak. And then they kill him. So that's the second story. And then the third story is about the boy. So Slade is his name. His whole family has arrived, and that's what the whole first volume is about. So this is kind of a prequel of right the very first night when Slade arrived. They're called like the World Stompers because, they stomp around and kill all the bugs out in the yard. And they're like, we can't have this. If another Slade enters, like it's going to completely destroy the yard's ecosystem. So all the spiders go to try to attack and kill Slade in his sleep. So while the spiders come in to attack, there are other mites that like praise Slades as gods and the World Stoppers as gods because they kind of aligned with them. And so the Spyders, and I think it's a different type of might, they end up fighting and having this bloody war all in this room of the first night while Slade's there, all while he's asleep. Spyders get the upper hand and they go and they look like they're going to kill him. And right before they do, Slade like turns his head and his eyes open for just like a millisecond. And then the head Spyder looks into his eyes and says like, oh, I can see all the wonderful and brilliant things he's going to do. He's actually going to save us, and decides not to kill him, and then all the Spyders then leave. It's crazy. So that's a prequel of what happened, and that led into the full run of, I don't know, it's like 8 or so books of Bug Wars. Now you got the one special, and then volume 2 will be coming out over the summer. It's awesome. Go ahead and pick it up. The writing and the art style is it's the exact same of what the original Bug Wars was. And you don't necessarily need the context. It would help, but you don't need it, and it's going to let you know whether or not you're going to be on board when volume 2 ends up coming out. But I love it. This is awesome. So I gave it such a high score. So Lee gave it such a high score as well. Go ahead, show off some of the artwork. It is it's like Mad Max but with bugs is like the best way to describe it. So that's the first one. Oh, the other thing too is like it looks like these squirrels are going crazy. They're going to be part of this as well, of being like a major threat in the second volume. So kind of looking forward to that too. It's super cool. I highly, highly recommend it. So that's Bug Wars, the Spider Wytch special. Again, I gave it a 4.5. League gave it a 4.5 as well. And then our second to last book here is going to be G.I. Joe issue number 18. G.I. Joe I've been loving. Also, this one I gave a 4. League gave it a 4.3. Seems like League's a lot higher on the books for this week. Usually I'm the one that's a lot higher than the others. But yeah, this was a cool one. This is all about a new character introduced to us, Roadblock, that's being recruited by the Joes. But before he's recruited by the Joes, he's actually recruited by the Crimson Twins, who are like frenemies with Destro, and they kind of team up with Cobra Commander a little bit. But we learn about Roadblock. He was part of Special Forces. He was the machine gunner. If you can see, he's got this huge like machine gun. Like think of any sort of like heavy turret weapon in any video game. That's basically what he has, like some sort of Gatling gun. And he gave that life up, basically. Retired from whatever armed services he was in, and he's running a food truck. So he's at this food truck festival, and that's when he's approached by the Crimson Twins. They want to give him a whole fleet of trucks. Roadblock sees right through this and is like, you're just going to turn this into some sort of recruiting thing, and I'm not going to have any control. I don't want any of this big, fancy, crazy dream. I just want to run my food truck. So he says no. So the Crimson Twins, they don't take kindly to that. They send in a whole bunch of mercenary soldiers that just destroy and like literally shoot after like civilians in this food truck thing. And so Roadblock's like, I can't have that. He goes after the Crimson Twins, crashes their car, takes out the machine gun, and starts like firing away as the twins are just barely able to escape. So that happens, and then Roadblock heads back to check on the food truck festival, and the Joes are already there supporting. And so the Joes are like, hey, heard about everything that happened. You should actually join us. We can, prevent stuff from like this happening, and we're going after the Crimson Twins. And it looks like he will be joining. So that's the story, just like a recruitment story, and learn a little bit about Roadblock. I enjoyed it a lot. I'll say the story was just very predictable. I was like, oh, okay, this is exactly how I imagine it's going to happen, and sure enough, that is. The other piece of this, too, is Cobra Commander and Destro are back together. Cobra Commander and Destro say that, okay, we're friends, like it's all good now, but then Cobra Commander sees that Destro actually was planning on taking over Cobra, and so I don't know with Cobra Commander if he generally cares or not, but he's well aware of what Destro was trying to do while Cobra Commander was with Duke out in the desert. So that's G.I. Joe issue number 18. I gave it a 4. Lee gave it a 4.3. You'd be fine if you jumped into that one. It's kind of a one-off, so you could go ahead and jump into that. That'd be okay. And then last but not least is going to be Miles Morales Spider-Man issue number 42. Definitely don't jump into this. This is the conclusion of 42 issues, so not the time for this one. But we're finally finishing up with Rabble and Miles and Cody Ziegler as the writer for Miles. At the end, he said for 4 years he's been writing Miles Morales. Between this, all the annuals, the alphas, the omegas, and everything else in between. 4 years he's been writing this book, and it's kind of crazy that now it's all coming to an end. So I gave it a 4. Lee ended up giving it a 4.1. And so for this one here, it's a good conclusion, but I'll say it's like the quintessential conclusion. Like nothing crazy beyond what you would imagine happens here. So we basically have Miles and Peter Parker. They're together. They're taking on who's called the Assessor. So the Assessor is basically this sentient AI trying to take over. And it's reading Miles's and it's reading Rabble in the previous issue, all their moves. And so Peter comes back from space just in the nick of time, and he's trying to help out with Miles. They end up teaming up together and take out the Assessor. And that's probably half of the book. Fighting, the Assessor, does its whole AI thing, learns the moves, and then they have to, come up with a new strategy, but they're finally able to defeat him. So that happens. Then Rabble is by herself taking out another bunch of Assessor drones. And the Assessor says something to Rabble, basically, of, you keep saying that, diamonds, or pressure turns into diamonds, but sometimes those diamonds are flawed. And that line gets stuck in her head. And now suddenly she keeps thinking about that over and over again. And so when Miles and Peter, they finish up with the Assessor where they're at, they meet up with Rabble, and they see her on the ground, kind of losing her mind of like, what if I'm flawed? What if I can't be saved? Like, what if this is all for nothing? And so now Miles and Rabble, they start fighting one-on-one. Miles tries to snap her out of it. He can't. And so they keep fighting back and forth, and Rabble's getting to the point she can control technology and can control devices, which is like, screw it, I'm going to just take everyone down with me. And she plans on blowing up everyone's device. And so Miles is like, I got to do what I got to do. He powers up his Venom Punch, and he hits Rabble in the face with like the most powerful Venom Punch that he's done in like the entire series. And they're up in the sky when he does it. And so he comes falling, crashing to the ground. She comes crashing to the ground as well. Dr. Kwan, who's like their therapist, is the one that ends up saving Miles. So you assume like, oh, Peter then saved Rabble. But no, Peter was dealing with some other drone that didn't stop until Rabble, the explosion all happened. And so Rabble is gone and like missing. And so we don't know if she died, if she got away. They then wrap up the story of like Miles trying to live a normal life. But the only thing that they found of Rabble was some armor. So we have no idea actually what happened to her. So we'll see. But that's it. That's the conclusion. It's like everyone else is fine. City is saved. 42 issues and was all surrounded, by this one villain. We had other arcs of things in between, of course, but that was like the main one, Rabble, which is kind of crazy of like 42 issues of that. I'm sure there are other books that have done that, but for me, it was the one of the only times that I've read a book where it's like repeat, bring this person back in, and even like halfway through had this major fight, seems like we were done with her, and then came back and then continues to come back, and it's all come to an end. So it was good though, great action issue for sure. And it's also crazy to me for this book that it was a backlog for so long, and I kept carving through, and I finally got up to current at around issue 40, 41, and then 42 is where it came to an end. But yeah, I've read every single one of these, if you can believe it, and it's the longest going issue that, long-standing series that I've read through. So that's kind of cool for me. I think every single issue was, well, that's not true. I don't think some of the earlier stuff was, but majority of this has been reviewed on the show in either the regular show or the Omegas. So yeah, it's Miles Morales Spider-Man issue number 42. I gave it a 4. Lee gave it a 4.1. So those are the books. Let's go ahead and just recap it so you know what we reviewed today. We had Absolute Wonder Woman issue number 16, start of a new arc where we have Zatanna leading the Suicide Squad. Absolute Flash issue number 11. We have Wally, who just gets out of Still Point, and now he's going to fight off Dr. Thawne's father. Absolute Martian Manhunter issue number 8. We have John and the Martian disconnected. The Martian gets hurt, and now despair has entered John's mind. Absolute Batman issue number 16. Batman gets a magical arrow that looks like it can Cure, Killer Croc, Final Boss issue number 3. Looks like the guys, they've gotten some weapons and armor to get ready for their tournament. And they take out, I don't know, Man Bear Pig is basically what he is. Then Skinbreaker, issue number 5. Our chief still trying to help out the tribe as best as he can from far away. Youngblood, issue number 3. Just wrapping this one up, you know. Heroes doing hero stuff. Bug Wars, the Spyder Wytch special, just learning more about the Spyder Wytch and the Spyder Coven. And G.I. Joe, issue number 18. We got Roadblocks Recruitment, and then Spider-Man Miles Morales, issue number 42. This is the conclusion to Miles Morales, and finally defeating and stopping Rabble. So, those are the books, folks. That is it for the Omega run. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I think we can go ahead and close things out here. We'll have a regular issue on Saturday. That'll be 10 books. I should be able to read all of them for this week. I think it's 8 or so. And then we'll have 2 extra that are just the backlogs. And then we'll have the Omega again for next week, and we'll just kind of keep it going. So appreciate you guys tuning in. Check out the description where you can follow on social media. And then if you'd like to leave a tip or support monetarily, there's a link to buymeacoffee.com/saturdaymorningcbreview. Go ahead and check that out. That's where you can leave a couple bucks. All the money would just go towards comics, but anything that you could spare would be appreciated. So yeah, with that, we'll close it out. Thanks again for tuning in, and I'll see you guys in the next one.
This has been a DMW production. Thanks for stopping by.